Hi, I'm Janice Switlo, and at times and through some of these episodes I've shared the more unusual experiences I've had since being asked to carry certain authorities, carry certain laws, knowledge of laws, being given as you know, at times what felt like a very crash course in laws of many nations, that I received that information in a way that's very different from attending school, and I've got 9 years of university, for instance. And it fascinated me to read in this book by Dr. Eben Alexander. I've quoted him in a couple of other episodes. I have this one and one more, and you won't hear from him anymore. But in his own experience, things had changed for him as well. It says, it will take me the rest of my life and then some to unpack what I learned. The knowledge given me was not, quote, taught, end of quote, in the way that a history lesson or math theorem would be. Insights happened directly, rather than needing to be coaxed and absorbed. Knowledge was stored without memorization, instantly and for good. It didn't fade like ordinary information does, and to this day, I still possess all of it much more clearly than I possess the information that I gained over all my years of school. So this tells me, and you know, he's a non-native guy, he's a white guy. I'm a white woman, obviously. But what this illustrates to me is that being able to exercise the example of Indigenous law is not isolated to Indigenous nationals. In other words, the lessons that can be learned from their example. Remember, they've developed their laws, they've developed their abilities for thousands of years. It really frightened people when they saw that kind of power that they hadn't seen before, people who were coming here from other parts of the world. It scared them, and they thought immediately, this is something really evil and bad and negative, and therefore we need to protect ourselves and protect these very people from themselves. So it's important to understand as we break through and start to embrace and access the knowledge, the incredible bundle of knowledge that is there for us to access and use. It's not going to be limited to Indigenous nationals. In fact, their example, part of the coming together with the Crown and the nations, while the Crown's people may introduce new trade items, for instance, and new technologies and things of that nature, the other part of it was the communication of those more higher level developed abilities, if you will, that Indigenous nations, their nationals, possess. And instead, of reaping the benefits that are possible, and until you really experience it, it's very hard to describe how effective it can be. To be able to think of an issue, ponder it, and then be shown an answer, either through interaction of all my relations, of looking at an animal that visits and some concept that suddenly clarifies an idea. And as you test that then using normal Western kind of principles, etc., then it starts to verify. My point of this is that we can become even stronger, more knowledgeable, more capable, and have such better societies by incorporating, not bringing Indigenous law under, not bringing concepts under, but respecting them, by recognizing they exist, by recognizing these are not only fully human people, human beings. These are people who were so much more developed, not in what they built as structures, but more developed, if you will, internally, on levels that people are just now starting to ponder. Concepts that they've carried for thousands of years. What a fascinating ability to tap into that. I know I've been amazed by the kind of information I've been able to and been honored to be exposed to. So for people who are so fearful about what's going on in Canada right now, think of the lost opportunities. Not because, the trains aren't running, you can't get to work on time. Think about the lost opportunities that Canadian governments have worked so hard to prevent your access to. Think about what's possible if we start to look to the examples that Indigenous nationals can provide through their Indigenous law. And that's all I have to say.